Have you ever questioned everything you ever learned until now? You are not alone. Welcome to Mystical Mavericks, a tribe that embraces your uniqueness and superpowers. Discover how you can access your innate gifts and create a reality of fulfillment, purpose, and passion. Are you ready to go within to win? Discover the keys to success on The Mystical Mavericks Show with your host, Juju.
Get ready for an amazing show with an amazing being. And it really doesn't need an introduction because we all know him, we all adore him, Mr. Jack Canfield. And what if you don't know him, just in case? He is the best-selling author, motivational speaker, corporate trainer, and entrepreneur. He is the author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, which has more than 250 titles and 500 million copies in print in over 40 languages. Wow, what an achievement. And we're going to hear from Jack what he feels around mystical conversations, spirituality, and business. And we're going to learn so much from this light being. We're welcoming Jack Canfield. Welcome, Jack. Thank you for sharing your presence with us. I'm very flattered and really you expand consciousness when you show up. I mean, I've been following you for quite a bit, and each time you show up, what I love about you, Jack Canfield, is that you're very consistent. You know what I'm saying? It's like you always know what you're gonna get, and I think that's like such a big deal as an entrepreneur. You know what I'm saying? And I
I do.
respect that about you. I mean, after many years of showing up in this light and continue to show up through other, new entrepreneurs now of today, and you keep sharing and showing up in this consistent line that is your true core, your frequency, your wisdom, your sacred wisdom. So thank you for being here today.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
My goodness. If you don't mind, I like to just do a little intention to set the tone. I like to do this and yes, to do this as everything, the work that I do. So, and it's very quick. It's just for the audience and for really us and ourselves for our this flow in the conversation. I'm not sure if you probably know the Lokaha Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. It's 8,000 years old mantra. It sets the tone for oneness and peace. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. May all being be at peace. May all being be free from suffering. May all we contribute within our thoughts and actions to the peace, the wellness, the happiness of others at all time. Thank you. So, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you. And more so now after that.
I mean, we're all vibration. We are vibration, and one of the questions that many of entrepreneurs have for you today is, what was the pivotal moment in your life when you knew about your soul purpose, your mission, your purpose, and your passion to help others on their higher path to success? Can you share maybe some of your humble moments and beginnings?
Sure. I started out my career as a high school teacher in Chicago. And I basically decided I wanted to be a teacher, make a difference in the world that way. And so I went to the University of Chicago to graduate school. And part of that graduate school 2-year program was to visit a series of schools, and then the next year to do practice teaching in those schools. We visited a school that was in the suburbs called Rich Township, and it really was. And then we went to a school called DuSable, which at that time had been named the worst high school in America by Time Magazine.
Oh.
And I was taken by the fact that it was a Black inner city high school, and the teachers weren't all that motivated. I think they all wanted to transfer out if they could. And I just remember after visiting that other school where everything seemed to be so wealthy and all that, I thought I could really make a difference here. So I applied to teach at an all-Black high school. I got into a school called Calumet. It was on the south side of Chicago. And I taught there for a year as part of my graduate program. And then I began to realize after about a month, I was more interested in why my students didn't believe in themselves. Their self-esteem was low. Their self-confidence was low. Most of them didn't have very high sense of themselves. They didn't have very high goals for their future. And so I really became more interested in that. And I took a workshop from a man named W. Clement Stone, who was a self-made multimillionaire worth $600 million. And he was a friend of Napoleon Hill, who wrote a book, Think and Grow Rich. And they had actually co-authored a book together. And so I started studying how do you develop self-esteem, help kids set goals, do affirmations, believe in themselves, visualize, take steps, respond to feedback, never give up, etc. I started teaching those in my school as part of 10 minutes of every one of my classes. And my students started to do really, really well. They stopped dropping out. I remember one day there was a couple of students who were suspended from school, and they actually snuck into school, came to my class and snuck out again because they didn't want to miss my class. So that was the beginning of like realizing that there was a possible way to empower people to believe in themselves and go for it. And over time, I started teaching teachers, and then did public seminars, and then corporate seminars, and then what I do today. But that's how it all started.
Incredible. So you had yourself the confidence to really tap in to what was calling you. And we're going to talk about later on about the law of attraction and those keys that your phenomenon, your guru at. And so if you're going to recognize that, if you get clear on what, the how will be taken care of by Jack Canfield, the success principles, how to get from where you are to where you want to be. If you get clear on what, and I get very passionate about this line. Can you just touch on that?
Well, basically, the first step of any success is what Napoleon Hill called having a burning desire. You have to have something you want. You can't get from where you are to where you want to be, which is the subtitle of my book, unless you know where you want to be. And so you ask a lot of people, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? What's your goal for life? What do you want to accomplish? And a lot of people go, I don't know, never thought of it, And so basically, you first have to decide what you want. And then a lot of people won't decide what they want because they don't see how they can get it. How could I become a doctor when I haven't even graduated college yet? Or how could I become, a lawyer when no one in my my family ever went to college? Or whatever people do, I'm too young, I'm too old, I don't know enough. And the reality is you don't have to know how to get there. You first have to commit to the what. And then if you apply the principles that you and I teach, principles like affirmations and visualization and listening to your intuition and so forth, the how will show up. I use a metaphor in the movie The Secret where I talk about at night, if you're driving, your headlights only go a couple hundred yards ahead of your car. But if you drive that couple hundred yards, then what happens is you see the next 100 yards and the next 100 yards, and it keeps showing up. So basically, all of a sudden, you're going to do three things will occur. Number one, you'll start to have creative ideas. I should call my brother. I should do this thing there. I should go to Starbucks here, not there. And then you're in line to Starbucks and you start talking to the guy or woman behind you. And all of a sudden they end up becoming a business partner or your mentor, or they introduce you to a book you need to read, whatever. The second thing that happens is you actually activate you program your reticular activating system in your brain, which is the filter that filters in your perception. So most of us only see the things that match our beliefs. When you have a goal, what happens, you start to see other things that were always in your environment you never saw before. And how that works, I'll give you a little example for everyone watching and listening. If right now, you're not thinking about this, but as soon as I say it, you'll be able to experience it. Notice what you're feeling in your right foot. And everybody can do that. But before that, you weren't experiencing anything in your right foot because you were paying attention to me or whatever you were paying attention to. Your brain is filtering out your right foot because it wasn't a priority. But as soon as you set a goal, what happens is your reticular system, if you visualize, affirm, believe, choose, all that stuff, what happens is it begins to open up and allows in resources, books, opportunities, etc., that were always there in your environment you never saw before. So that's what happens. And you'll start to read, you'll start to be attracted to courses and things like that. You may have to learn some new things, get some new credentials, whatever. But the point is, don't let not knowing how get in the way of deciding what you want, because I could tell you hundreds of stories of homeless people who ended up at Harvard. I wrote it forward for a book called Homeless to Billionaire, about a guy who was 19 years old, sleeping on the beach in Phuket, Thailand. And 3 years later, he was worth, no, 15 years later, he was worth $3 billion. So homeless at 19, $3 billion by the time he gets to be 34.
You give me, I'm trying not to cry, and I love you. I love you so much. I get the chills because, I've never heard you saying this story before, and I've watched you. Maybe I missed it, because come to find out, I mean, I myself, I came to this country with $50 in my pocket, didn't speak any English, with this guitar on my back, literally, and the little luggage that my grandma gave me before I left at 4:00 in the morning from Marseille in the south of France. I didn't speak English, Chuck. I didn't know any English, anyone. So I show up in the street of LA with nothing but my guitar and this little tiny luggage. But what you said, wow, I had never heard anyone put it into this way. And that homeless person, I was an illegal immigrant homeless. You ran right into my consciousness. How did you do that, Jack? You went right. I mean, this is the reason that I'm here speaking with you today. It's because of what those principles. And so, thank you. I adore you. Wow. Do you even realize how powerful you are? Or it's just like, or everybody is seeing it, like,
well,
you just show up in this power. You're very powerful. You're very powerful in your consciousness.
Gigi, I think everybody's that powerful. The problem is they've never taken the time to tap into it. When you are a meditator like you and I are, what happens is that you then become more consciously and unconsciously aware of everything around you. And so when you're in tune, the person you're talking to draws out from you that which needs to be said. I mean, I could have used 5 other stories to illustrate that point, but for whatever reason, that's what came into my head and that's what came out. So,
wow. I'm still I'm still just trying to process it, because it's literally, you went straight into my higher mind. Do you know that I don't think anyone have done this before? I'm just like in wow, in je ne sais quoi. This is marvelous. I'm having such a mystical experience right now with you, and I can't wait to share it with the world. Oh my goodness. So one thing that I picked up on in one of your interview was the self-esteem, and that totally related to that too. You talked about like we can have all these books and all this learning curve, and learning with the logic side of the mind, and you call it self-esteem. And I thought it was brilliant. I'm like, Dan, I should have had that before. I could have got that. But
where I got that idea was, I was talking to the people. There's a company called Nightingale Conant. They produce a lot of audio programs, and Vic Conant told me that only 17% of all the courses they sell actually get opened and finished. And so what happens, a lot of people buy books and they take programs and they put them on the shelf. And so your shelves have a lot of esteem, but you don't. And I want you who are listening to have self-esteem, self-awareness, self-confidence, self-empowerment, self-actualization, ultimately self-fulfillment. But you have to do the work. You have to read the books. You have to take the courses. You have to apply what you learn. And, my mentor said, is you have to apply. It's assimilation and then application. And a lot of people don't do that. And so it's like, you talk about me and yourself. what we share with the public is the tip of an iceberg. It's up here. Most of it's underwater. And so the reality is all this work we've done on ourselves, both internally and externally, that allows us to have the wisdom we have, that allows us to be as, so profound or impactful as we are.
But you know what really is transparent to me today in this conversation as it's taking place right now in this flow in the now
Mhm.
is there even the word for genuineness? Genuine, like the ability for you, and this is what I'm blissful to be here with you because I feel that from you, this genuineness. You're so genuine and it's rare. Isn't it bizarre that it's so rare? And I'm not sure,
Well,
why, but
I
because
think
it
a
should
lot
be
of,
normal, but
yeah, well, a lot of people have been wounded as children for being
oh,
their authentic selves, for being noisy, for having
mm,
wants and needs, for not wanting to do what their parents wanted them to do. Their parents wanted to go
mm,
and be a doctor and they wanted to be a car mechanic. And so, it's not okay to cry and don't get mad at your father and, you study things you're not interested in and so forth and so on. So after a while, we are afraid to share our authentic self for fear of losing favor, for fear of losing approval. And so most of us are living our lives for approval rather than for self-fulfillment, self-expression. And that's why the inner work is so important, to let go of that. We have to release our beliefs and our fears so that we can come back to the essentialness of who we are. Because when you're expressing your authentic, essential self without fear, that's pure joy. And that's what we all want, obviously.
wow. So you in agreement with me that pure joy, it is our essence. It is our true
Yes.
essence. And it is this pure, pristine, supreme perfection that we already are. And you're taking that now, teaching others how to ignite that or unlock that which is already there. So
Mhm.
bravo, because not only you're, I mean, I couldn't count, but millions of people and entrepreneurs that you were able to transform their mind, their life, and you continue to touch on more millions. And it's like, wow, how do you do that? That's incredible. Going back to the law of attraction, like you see or hear on social medias, okay, the law of attraction, things happen. Those great things happen to the gurus, the yogis, the Jack Canfields, the celebrities, the famous. I mean, come on, can you demystify this for us?
Well, the law of attraction is a universal law. It works for everybody. It's like the law of gravity. Doesn't matter if you're rich, poor, where you live. The law of gravity always works. Jump off a building, you're going to fall down. And so what happens is that the law of attraction is always working. The problem is to look at what are you attracting, and are you attracting things you want, like wealth and health and abundance and fun and joy and opportunities and travel and meaningful relationships, etc. Um, but most people, unfortunately, the majority are attracting things that they don't want: poverty, debt, pain, relationships that are a struggle, fights and arguments, and all that kind of thing. And so what happens is that you have to then look at, what am I thinking? What am I focusing on? The law of attraction basically says you're going to attract into your life that which you think about, believe, talk about, feel strongly about, and especially repetitively. So if you have a belief that you're overweight, or that you're not smart, or that you're not athletic, or you can't do numbers, or you can't remember jokes, whatever it might be, that's what you're going to attract into your life. So basically, what I think our work is about is having the focus of your mind, training your mind to focus on the things you want. And we do that through having visions of what we want in our life, setting goals, using affirmations and visualization, acting as if we already have it. Um, you know, in my life, just an example, my mentor, W. Clement Stone, who I mentioned, he challenged me to set a goal. This is amazing. That's so big that if you achieve it, you'll know it's only because of what I've taught you. And so at that time, I was making $8,000 a year as a teacher in Chicago, I mentioned earlier. And this was the 1970s, 69, 70, right in that time. And so to make $100,000 seemed impossible to me, but I set a goal to make $100,000. And I didn't make 100,000. I made $93,238. But that was so much more than I was making before. I went, oh my God, this stuff really works. And then my wife said, do you think it will work with $1 million? And I said, well, it kind of worked for 100,000. Let's try it. So we made $1 million bill. We drew one, put it on the ceiling. Every morning we'd wake up, we'd see it, we'd close our eyes, we'd visualize living $1 million lifestyle. And if this was a seminar where I had overheads, I would show you a check written to me by the publisher of the first Chicken Soup book for $1,138,000. And the reality is little Jackie Canfield from Wheeling, West Virginia, whose dad used to make $8,000 a year. And then I made $8,000 a year. And now I've had years where I made $8 million a year. So I know it works if you work it. And I just tell you one story. Yes. There was a story in some magazine I read about a guy in Florida. He was absolutely obsessed with the alligator was going to bite him and kill him. And he lived near, not right near, but near like the Okefenokee swamp. But I mean, it was like blocks and blocks away from us. And one day this alligator climbed out of the swamp, went about 6 blocks into his backyard and bit his leg off. And I thought, like, that is ridiculous, but it just shows how powerful our attraction is when we visualize. And let me say one last thing about your question.
Oh, yeah, of course.
It's not just gurus, yogis, and celebrities that get it, but why more of them do is because of what we call vibration. The law of attraction says you have to be a vibrational match for what you want. What does that mean? Vibration is your emotional state. So when you're in an emotion of joy and love and appreciation and gratitude, things we talked about before, you're going to be more powerfully attracting things that will continue to create that. If you're in a state of anger, resentment, fear, attachment, which is fear-based, you're attached because you're afraid if you lose it, somehow you won't be able to replace it. And so what happens is you then are going to not be in a high vibration. And people that are yogis and gurus, and people like Jim Carrey, who meditates every day, he does TM meditation. You may remember he wrote a check to himself for $10 million, and then he manifested it. Why? Because he was in a high vibration. He truly believed it was possible. So you have to work on removing your limiting beliefs, removing doubt, forgiving people, letting go of resentments, letting go of anger, letting go of fear, and replace that with love and certainty and joy. That takes work. That takes intention. That takes discipline. But if you do that, then you find yourself in that same high vibration, and you're going to attract things quicker, which is why we see what we're calling gurus, yogis, and celebrities doing it more often than people who are not.
So great. So great. And it's so good to hear it. Even if we know it, it's always good to hear this pure, direct knowledge, even if you know it at your core, even if you practice it. But for those who are, the rookie of meditation or why not, and they have so many questions about law of attraction, they have to realize that it is innate within them. And by listening to someone like you, or reading your books, or going to your event, those are the step of action that they need to take, because they cannot sit and meditate and do nothing. I believe that action is the most important prayer in the world. And if you sit, excuse my French, but your derriere down on your, on your floor for hours and hours, they ain't gonna do nothing. I mean, it might create a band-aid, but you need to take action. You need to listen to Jack and get your butt off the couch and get things in motion. That's how you get to the law of attraction, by start moving towards the direction of your dreams. All right.
Well, one of my friends who you probably know, John Assaraf, he was in The Secret as well. He has a thing he calls the law of Goya, Goya. And he says it's the law of get off your ass. And so you've got to take action. And when you think about it, the word attraction, the last 6 letters in attraction are ACTIOM. The last 6 letters in the word satisfaction are ACTIOM. And the word satisfaction comes from the Latin. Satis means enough. So enough action produces satisfaction. And so, yes, we need to visualize, we need to affirm, we need to believe it's possible, we need to plan, we need to have vision boards and do all that stuff. But then you get inspirations to act. That's why we said you don't have to know the how, just the what. But what happens is when you do these exercises and you do the meditation and the visualizations, where you'll start to get inspirations to act. And when you get those inspirations, you must act on them. And what Joe Vitale wrote about recently in a book, which I loved, is that every inspiration you get comes with a vortex of energy, like a little cyclone. And cyclones and tornadoes, as you know, they move through. Like we had one in the Midwest a month ago or so that, went 75 miles. It just destroyed a lot of houses. But basically, when you get this inspiration to write that book, make that call, develop that product, whatever, it comes with this vortex of right timing. And therefore, you must do it as soon as possible. I think it was Mel Robbins wrote a book, something like the 5-second rule, where you just take action immediately toward that which you're inspired to act on.
Trying to process, I'm processing because it goes to different levels for me, as intuitive, we're like, there's different levels. So there's all of that. Now I'm just getting into the vibration of what you're transmitting. See, Jack transmits transmission. It just doesn't just start. There's a transmission, vibrational transmission that is actually from his heart consciousness to yours, you guys. And that's why you need to listen to Jack right now. So no, literally, that's what it is. You're this vibration of gratitude and love, and your expansion is so beautiful that I want to take bigger breath and I'm not even around you physically, but it doesn't matter because we're remoting, right? So we're here in this Zoom, and yet it's like you're right here with me, and it's too bad I can just grab you and give you a big hug, which I am virtually.
I accept.
in the French way, with the French thing and everything. Okay. Talking about meditation, I want to give a shout out to those guys at BRAINTAP, the founder and creator of BRAINTAP. They are also a great collaborator with BizTuition, my business, and they founded Dr. Porter founded and created this technology, BRAINTAP. Now, I don't know if you heard of it, Jack. But
I have. I own it. Yes.
You own it. So he's a great sponsor for the Mystical Mavericks. So I'm very excited to have them part of this mission. And this is the set. So you already have it. And I actually wanted to gift it one to you. So, but you already have it. So this is the set. And what I love about BRAINTAP is that everybody can use it, obviously, from 5-year-old to 100 years old. And what it does, it mimics nature. So it basically unlocks the power of your brain. It facilitates so many things. Sleep better, everything in between. If you're an entrepreneur, focus, elevate your mind. So all of these things are with BRAINTAP, and I encourage everyone to start digging into the power of technology of BRAINTAP. It's very, very powerful. I use it, and my tribe use it as well. So I encourage everybody to look at that. And yeah, you use it yourself. I can't believe it. That's amazing. Well, I can't believe it. They're great.
Oh, it's good.
So I saw a decision. You talked about decision making. I'm talking about decision making now when it comes to in business, and it comes to intuition, which I call BizTuition. Can you relate to that? And do you use your intuition in your business as far as making decision?
Yes, I do every day. So I use it to decide who do I work with, what do I do, when do I take action, when do I hold back, what projects to pursue, when not to pursue them, what stocks to buy, what cryptocurrencies to trade, and so forth. It was interesting. My stock advisor told me not to buy Apple stock when I wanted to, and I bought way more than he ever wanted me to, and then it exploded, did really, really well. Wow. It's the basis of my stock portfolio. So I literally trust my intuition. I go inside every day. I meditate every day, and sometimes 20 minutes, sometimes an hour. But I will usually ask a question related to what's going on. Okay. What am I supposed to do here? How can I get along better with my sister? Should I hire this person? This person's not doing well. What would be the best way to approach them? Do I need to be confrontive? Do I need to be more nurturing, etc.? I always get an answer. always get an answer. And when the pandemic hit, I asked, what do we do? And two things were really interesting. One is we switched all our courses to virtual courses online. And then the other thing was I got involved with a Young Living Essential Oils, which is a multi-level marketing company. Why did I do that? Because I had 12 staff I didn't want to fire. I figured if we all got in there together and they all started making a couple extra thousand a month, I wouldn't have to fire anybody. And that worked out really, really well. And I never would have done that if it hadn't been for my intuition telling me to do that. So it really helped us survive as a company for the first, I'd say, year of the pandemic.
That's an incredible statement. Wow. That's really, because at the end of the day, to me, because I survived because of intuition, I was about to survive. I was surviving because of it. It's literally, to me, the most powerful survival skill anyone can learn, and they have it within them.
Yes, everybody does. We're not taught to use it, though.
No, we're not taught to use it at school or anywhere. So you're teaching it, and hopefully more will teach it. It's just one of those skills that is so powerful. I talk a lot about, or not talk a lot, but I like to bring the awareness of infobesity epidemic in business. This overload of information, the data, the technology, this opposite of the peace of mind. And as entrepreneur, so you talked about meditation, of course, but do you see it that is expanding tremendously, this infobesity, this silent business disease? Or is it something that you really don't pay attention to because you're already at peace anyway? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think there is an overload of information. There's so much data, so much knowledge. It's exploding, just every day is just more and more and more and more. And with the artificial intelligence, the computers crunching it all, there's just more happening. And, if you just read the news every day, you go crazy. There's so much stuff out there to know. And, I subscribe to about 5 different magazines. I read a number of things. But the reality is that I recommend that, I say that wisdom's more important than knowledge. And so we need knowledge. Our intuition needs to be informed. If you have no knowledge, your intuition doesn't have as much data to work with. So you want real world data down here, and you want to be tapped into source energy, God, infinite intelligence, however you hold that. So it's that dynamic between the two. The mystics, the Jewish mystics that teach Kabbalah, talk about one side of the brain is knowledge and information, and the other side is wisdom, and they go together. They have to act together. So for me, I think that you have to limit how much information. You can see I've got books behind me. I've read 3,000 books, but I would tell you that the majority of what I know that's valuable has come from my experience of interacting with people in seminars and in coaching and in my relationships, my family, my friends, and what I've tapped into through my meditation. And so, Tim Ferriss, who's a friend of mine, I coached him when he wrote his book, The 4-Hour Workweek. He writes about taking a digital detox. And so just like we need to detox our body every once in a while, we need to detox our brain from all this overload of information, because information alone is not going to get you where you want to go. It's information used with wisdom, and that comes from the internal side. So you want that balance of the two.
That's actually, wow. I just selfishly just wanted all this for me today. So thank you for giving, so being so giving. Oh, I'm having a spiritual orgasm. Okay. Voila. I said it. So, what is your definition of enlightenment?
I think, to me, enlightenment is being awake and aware. And I think that, obviously there's levels of that. I mean, some people are kind of awake, kind of aware. They know more than the average bear. And then there are those people who were fully awakened, whether it was Jesus or Buddha or Babaji or Sai Baba, there's a number of avatars that have walked on earth, some of which we've heard of, some of which we never will because they were fairly private. But the point is that we all have that capacity to achieve greater enlightenment. And the word guru means to go from gu, darkness, to ru, light. And so anyone who takes you from darkness to light enlightens you. And so we all have that capacity. And I think that having teachers are valuable, and having, practices. One of my friends was a student of a guru in India who died. And the guy who took over said he's going to come back on this date, which was about a month ago, and he's going to, talk to everybody. So make sure you're meditating at 6:30 in the morning on whatever date that was. And so my friend Paul Sheely, who's the guy who told me this, a very bright guy, he said to me, I'm sitting there meditating, waiting, and he shows up in my consciousness and he says, just keep doing the practices. That was the whole message. So it's the practices that get you there, the practices of meditation, sending out love, focusing on the positive, being grateful. Everyone talks about gratitude exercises and appreciation. These are all the highest vibrations. Even now, the positive psychology movement, which is much more mainstream and less spiritual in nature, and taught in universities all over the world right now, talks about gratitude, appreciation, love. They have these love exercises, etc., where you close your eyes and visualize sending love to somebody, doing things you love. We talk about that as well. So it raises your vibration. But those practices, forgiveness, and so forth, in your opening little mantra you did, you talked about, love for all beings. I forget the exact words you said, but it included that, you want all beings to live, without suffering. And so when you do those practices, that's what takes you to enlightenment.
Oh, so beautiful, so pure, so magical. Your heart is so pure, Jack. It's so beautiful. You are definitely a magical, mystical being. Wow. Talking about being a guru, the one who removes the darkness. That's what you are. That's what you are to millions. So it's really a privilege for me to have this conversation with you beyond.
I'm glad you're recording this. Next time my wife gets mad at me, I'm going to show her this.
Yeah, show it. Show it. Anybody gets mad at you, just say, I'll just, show this little 2 seconds clip and it'll be over. No more fighting. Like, oh, Guru Jack, Guruji, Guru Jack. See, it resonates. It's awesome. Talking about enlightenment. I love one of you have 67 principles, right? Oh, yes. Keys, or you call it principles, keys, lessons in your success principle, the book.
Yes.
So if God would come to you and say, Jack, you can only use one principle, only one you can keep, which one would that be?
Let me ask you this, Julia. If God came to you and said you could only keep one organ in your body,
it's impossible, God. It's impossible. Well, it would be the heart. It would be the heart, obviously. Yeah. It would be the heart. It wouldn't be the brain to me. It would be the heart.
Yeah.
That's what I would keep.
And you would still die because without oxygen in your lungs and all that, So the reason I ask you that is I don't think there's only one principle that you can play with. I think it's a system.
Yes.
And I teach a system that, I'll go through this faster than anyone can memorize. But the point being, you have to take 100% responsibility. Clarify your life purpose. Why are you here? Create a vision for the fulfillment of that. Turn that into specific, measurable goals. Believe it's possible. Create a plan. Get an accountability partner or a mastermind group who will hold you accountable to taking the actions you need to do. Then take the actions every day. One of those is asking for support from a higher power. We talked about that through meditation, from other people, which is out on this level. Reject rejection, because you will get rejected. Chicken Soup was turned down 144 times before we found a publisher for Chicken Soup for the Soul. Howard Schultz, who started Starbucks, was turned down 217 times by banks before he got the investment capital to start Starbucks. He's now worth $3 billion. So you got to respond to feedback, because all action doesn't work. And then persevere, never give up, and then be grateful for what you achieve at the end. So that's a system. And a system's like a combination to a lock. If you know the combination, you have the right numbers in the right order. If you have all the numbers in the wrong order, won't work. Missing one number won't work. Have all the numbers in the right order. Doesn't care if you went to grade school, high school, college, black, white, young, old, live in Paris, France, or Paris, Texas. It's all going to work. So that's why I teach a system.
That is so awesome. I just appreciate that answer so much. And the way you took it, like, yeah, okay, I got you. I will never ask that again. I have a heart, but I will die. Forget about it. I need the 67 principles. Which one of them is don't complain, correct?
Yes, you don't need all 67. You need about 15 of them. And the rest of the book are nuances. They're useful. Like keep your agreements, inquire within, which is the meditation part, turn your inner critic into an inner coach. There's all kinds of things that are helpful. But those that I mentioned, those are the core, if you will, that you have to have.
A system to unlock your divine full potential. Yes.
Absolutely.
Finally, a system that's simple enough for us to understand. Amen. What's the next big bang in Jack's mystical universe?
Well, basically, I think the next big thing, I'm writing 4 books right now, and I hope those will all be useful. They should be finished, most of them in the next couple of months. But as far as people getting involved with me in the near future, they can go to jackcanfield.com. That's real simple. Everything I'm going to talk about is there. But we're doing a virtual Breakthrough to Success weekend. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, April 8th to 10th, which is it's an amazing workshop. What I love about the pandemic is it forced us to go virtual. And now we had, the last one we did, we had people from 41 countries, like hundreds of people from 41 countries. So that's powerful, powerful workshop. And in March, we're doing a series of free webinars that are leading up to that, where we'll be teaching you things. So just get on our website, go to, get on our mailing list. Also, we do a limiting beliefs call. Every quarter, I do a call where I take people through an hour-long process, how to identify a subconscious limiting belief you don't even know you have it, and release it and replace it with a positive, empowering belief. We have coaching programs. We have our online Breakthrough to Success program, our Train the Trainer program, our Train the Trainer online program, become a certified Canfield Success Principles trainer, which makes you a better business leader, better manager, better coach, better parent, better spouse. And we now have people in 117 countries that are teaching this work. And I'd love to have you join us, if you're watching this, and become one of those trainers. And all the things we've been talking about, you'll not only understand and be able to apply them in your life at a much deeper level, but you'll also be able to teach it to other people. And you'll become part of that ripple going out of that conscious evolution of enlightenment that we talked about earlier.
You guys, be part. Jack just asks you to do this simple awareness step of action. Just be part of something bigger, something magical, something mystical. Be part of Jack's tribe. It's like you be part of something that beautiful, and just not just for the learning things and the skills, but can you imagine being part of Jack's field of consciousness where you're in swimming with it, and you be a ripple of that consciousness, a ripple of that bliss. And that's like huge. You don't even have to do anything. You just be there and then, be part of the flow. That alone, wow, it's incredible. You don't have to do anything. Just to sit there alone, you absorb, and then you'll be able to share it and then duplicate it with others. That's the bliss. That's the incredible enlightenment that comes with it. So, Jack, wow, that was divine, and so much gratitude, thankfulness, gratitude for your presence, and to enrich us today with your enlightenment, your light, and your wisdom, your direct knowledge beyond the books. So there's the books and there's the beyond the books, Jack. And thank you for being here with us today. Much appreciated. Wow. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. I really feel privileged and honored to have spent time with Jack. This is someone who has been through so many challenges and were able to really use the law of attraction and all the principles that he teaches and share. He's done it, and it is making such an impact in the world. And to have him for an hour or so of his life, it was very enlightening. It was such a beautiful state of consciousness and peace and joy. I felt really free and joyful to just be, in the expression as we are, and showing up as we are is so genuine. I think I mentioned that in the show, how genuine it is, just showing up as he is. It's so cool, so cool. So one of the highlights of the conversation with Jack, a couple of things. When he spoke about the law of attraction, he mentioned act as if. So, what does that really mean? I want you to take a moment and sit with that. Act as if you already have that thing that you desire, right? Act as if. So, if you feel in the vibration of the things that you already have, there's no more lack of. And he speaks about vibration. He doesn't really speak about the law of attraction by meaning get the things, material things. He speaks about you changing your vibration, elevating your vibration. So you, the magnet of the things that you want and desire. And there's more to it, obviously, but also the burning desire, that step of action that ignite your burning desire. When I came here, I had nothing. I didn't even speak English, but I had one thing for sure. I had nothing. I mean, less than nothing if you think about it. But I had the burning desire. That's how I survived on this fuel was my fuel was the burning desire. The burning desire to accomplish and to become. I didn't know anything about anything, but I had this burning desire. So I kept on taking action. And that's what he's talking about. Take action. First thing is take action. That we can meditate all day long, but that's not going to do nothing if we don't take action. So that's what the show was all about. It's really taking those action steps to get into this mode, this vibrational mode and frequency. So you become a magnet. So, what a great wisdom and tip for everyone, because it's innate to everyone. We can all do it. And he also speaks about it's innate to all of us. It's not just, the gurus and the famous people that can get the great things and be happy and fulfill in their life. It's up to all of us. And so in his principle of success, it's a system to unlock that which is already within you, to go within to win. And one thing that I love about what he teaches is this. If you get clear on what, the how will be taken care of. How powerful is that? Because a lot of time we're conditioned to think the other way around. If we know the how, we'll get to the what, and then we'll get what we want. But that's not true. I experienced that in my life. I know this for sure. So that information and knowledge is great, but wisdom from your own experience is what we need to apply, is the wisdom. Because we can learn the books over and over and over again, but we have to apply the wisdom that you can unlock, because you are the vessel of that wisdom. You can unlock your universal power within yourself to go with it to win. Right? That's what we call the show, the Mystical Mavericks, because we can all unlock. This is our innate power, and we're wired to be able to live a fulfilled life, joyful, with activating peace and happiness, not just for us, for others as well. So act as if you already have it. Get clear on the what, and the how will show up, right? And then thirdly, the wisdom is more important than the knowledge. The direct wisdom is more important than the things that we learn and intellectually the brain learns. So there is two aspects of things. We want to make sure that we develop the wisdom within ourselves as a cosmic being and then a spiritual being having a human experience, right? So we want both. We want the wisdom, this universal power, combined with the things that you learn intellectually. But it has to be both in order to access this great divine full potential. So I hope you enjoyed this show as much as I did. I send you lots of love, peace, and a bientôt, my friends. Thank you so much for being here with me.
You have just listened to another enlightening episode of Mystical Mavericks with Juju. Please visit mysticalmavericks.com for additional resources and to learn more about our mentorship, giveaways, and gatherings. Be sure to subscribe and share so you don't miss the next episode of Mystical Mavericks.